was a baby. And like his passport, I got it, kind of have it as a baby right on through. There's his passport. There's signed by him. He traveled, it was his first trip to Vietnam. He traveled all over the country with it. He even had some girls' names in the back.
How did all this stuff get out?
It was all saved by, I get from about 6 different people in the administration, but their household names are people like Sorensen and Schlesinger and all the guys that work for Kennedy. They save stuff, and I get in with them, and before they donate stuff to the Kennedy Library, I got in with them in about 8 years, 10 years ago, and what you see here is like 10 years accumulation. And then I buy it from him before they donate it to the Kennedy Library. But even personal stuff, like he carried pictures of Jackie. There's the combination of the safe in the Senate. And he carried his book all in 1953. Made notes in it and all, his ID card from his wallet. United States Senate.
Was that picture in that book when you got it of Jackie?
Yeah, just
Is
like
that
it
the
was.
thing that you have of Jackie, Stacy, is 1953? That's
53? Yeah, that's the way she looked.
Tennis outfit.
Yeah. Looks like her.
Sure.
But you remember kind of more 60-ish looking. And right on over, it's all things he owned. His badge from the convention, his telephone directory with all the private numbers of the senators in it, his international driver's license that was issued to him in '56. It's an unpublished photo of him in there. Thing he carried his speeches in. This is a neat piece. This is the first wedding gift Jackie gave him. It says, for Jack, September 12, '54. It was their first wedding anniversary, and it's a solid gold St. Christopher's medal. They gave each other something St. Christopher's on each anniversary for the rest of their life. His telephone book from his apartment in Bowdoin Street in Boston. It's got all the numbers, private family numbers and everything like that. Then I go into his presidency, like this was part of the bunning from on the inaugural stand. Everything on here was on his desk, like this little thing. The statues on the desk, the blotter was on the desk. You see pictures of him, his glasses. First thing he wrote as president when he went into the Oval Office, he sat down and made those notes with his hands on that piece of paper right there. That's the first thing he wrote. Another pair of glasses that he used to wear, and he'd stretch them out because he'd wear them on top of his head like that. There's his watch. He was given on election night. It says President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, from his friend Grant. This was given to him the night he won the election. And it's in the famous picture in Life magazine that he's wearing. And then he's also wearing it in his favorite family portrait, which is this one here. The family. Let's see what else. This is really a neat item, the ring. This is the ring that MacArthur gave him as Commander-in-Chief of the Army. And they took the stone out and put a presidential seal in it, and his name's engraved on the inside. You see it? But it's a class ring for '62, and he was a Navy guy, but because he was Commander-in-Chief, they gave him an Army ring. These are all things out of his desk or on his desk. Peter Lawford gave him that. Donkey crushing the elephant. A friend of his brought him this from Ireland, and John dropped it and broke it, the little kid. And each letter I have on this states the whole history of it, like Torbett McDonald, it was his good friend who gave him that little dog. And in the letter I have, it speaks of a little joke where, like, McDonald came in the office and said, I brought you a dog back from Ireland. And Kenny was like, what? You brought me a dog? I mean, you're giving somebody a dog. And he came in and pulled it out of his pocket, and it was like a joke with him. But I got that all in this, because the person I got that from was right there when it happened and relates the whole story. So it all ties in. And I don't put letters out because nobody would ever read them anyway. But the kind of letters I have are things like this. It's White House stationery, dated, that's when I got it. It says these shirt samples they have in possession were samples of late President John Kennedy selected shirts worn during the inauguration. And this is the section he did and wrote JK. And then these are all the samples. And I have the envelope that he sent him and all that. So that's the kind of letters I got on everything, but a lot of them are more detailed. His car keys. They gave him this after the Bay of Pigs as a joke. It says decisions, decisions, and you flip a coin. If you understand the Bay of Pigs, the biggest mistake in his presidency, it's a good joke. Dr. Travell, his lady doctor, gave him these to wrap his legs in to take the pressure off his back. Even have his weird things like his crutch tops, which he has right there. These people saved everything. And some of the people just told me they knew he was going to be one of the greatest presidents, and and when he was assassinated, they were glad that they saved everything. There I am with Dave Powers up at the Kennedy Library in the family quarters up there, and that's a fish that Kennedy caught up there. On his honeymoon, they have it up there.
Did they ever ask you to lend out any of this stuff to the
Now, I
library?
got more personal stuff than they have, but, I mean, they have really great stuff, but, like, they have a cigar cutter up there in their museum, and I got one too, so a lot of times Kennedy had 2 or 3 or 4 or something. But a lot of the stuff in here is unique. I mean, they don't have any passports, they don't have any, like this is only 1 item, the ring's only 1 item, the watch is only 1 item. They don't have things like that. There's that hat that the President of Ireland gave him when he was in Ireland. That's the tie clip that PT-109 that he had on the night he was, before the night he was killed, making a speech. There's a Tiffany box that was on his desk. That's a cigarette box. It's really pretty. Solid silver. This was in Dallas in the motorcade. It's a Secret Service pin. They're all solid gold buttons that were on Kennedy's blue blazer that he had at Newport Beach when he used to see the cup races.
You said that real heavy, didn't you?
Yeah, they're real heavy and solid gold. These are things that he was reading over in the airplane in Dallas. And oddly enough, they're from his brother. It says, "To the President," and it's a note from RFK. And this is both of them, and this is what it says. I think it'd be worthwhile taking a look at these memos. It's just daily reading matter that they put in a file and take on the airplane for him to read over. Because it was business as usual going to Dallas. They didn't know he was going to get killed. So. And then I continue like over here with his presidency and right on over. That box they bought in Mexico and gave it as a gift to Caroline's dance teacher. These books are the ones like on the table there. Each country had a book, and in there was all the pertinent papers. So if Kennedy was going to a meeting for the United Kingdom, he'd grab that book and everything would be set. He'd have all the files ready. His little pocket dictionary he carried a long time because he wasn't a good speller, and he always referred to that thing for years. White House card signed by Jackie Kennedy. The record, when they swore in the cabinet, that's the record, the original record. You see cables on the ground. It's going to a recording device for the government. The Army recorded it for him and gave it to him as a souvenir. They were swearing in. Another pair of glasses, John John's robe, John John's sunsuit, a clock that he had up in Boston and brought it down to Georgetown and used it in the White House. Some of his ties, his wallet with his American Legion card, his VFW card, and even rich people back then had calling cards, which I really wasn't familiar with, but there's Kennedy's calling card for 1958. I didn't even know they had them. And his wallet, which is pretty well used. He used to have a St. Christopher's money clip in there.
I thought you were
Not
going to
like
have a
that one.
calling card with, where they do them with just the person's name on it in high society.
Right.
No, it's just all it has is the person's name. It's gauche to put your address or phone number on.
Yeah.
Just when you come to visit someone, you leave it in the silver tray. You know all those rich people.
Yes, yes. His checkbook. He used to sign blank checks and then they'd fill them out. A Sony radio that was on his desk, and that in 1960 was a little radio. I mean, people used to carry big like the boom boxes, but that's a little radio. And he used to have this on his desk, and he would talk to his economic advisors about the miniaturization and how far technically ahead the Japanese were. Like a bill signing pen, these are the kind of pens they sign the bills with and then hand as souvenirs, which are like this when he signs the bills, he has all those pens stacked up. There's all notes and little doodles and things. This is an interesting, in his desk, when they cleaned out his desk on November 23rd, room 727 in the Beverly Hills Hotel. There's a key in there.
Huh.
So everybody right away says Marilyn Monroe, which they play up.
Have you ever seen that mentioned in media?
No, but room 727 is kind of funny, you know, I mean, the number, and this hotel key was in his desk also. And
What's that one?
this is San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Oh.
These were all in his desk, which is interesting. He was buying a scrimshaw collection, and he was a big scrimshaw collector. Scrimshaw.
Uh-huh.
This is something that he referred to in his desk whenever he glanced. He had on his desk a daily schedule like this, but this would be something that he would refer to, and there's the ill-fated trip to Texas. And what he was doing on this, another piece of paper, he was working on this December 17th Christmas party for children, underprivileged children, which never, all of this from here below never came
Look at
out.
all this stuff after the 21st.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is kind of an ironic item, which was in his desk. It's a Secret Service on how to protect the president and what the president's supposed to do and all that.
Hmm.
And the first paragraph talks about Lincoln, Garfield, and McKinley's assassinations. And it tells the president how he's supposed to act and what he's supposed to do and all that. So it's kind of, it wasn't well used, so I guess he didn't look at it that much. But it was in his desk. These are little PT-109 boats that he would give out to people. His Life American Legion pin, a little solid gold JFK piece. This meeting right here with these two guys is the last meeting he had in the White House, which is 10:25 to 10:30 that morning before he left for Dallas at 11. There's his desk from November 22nd that they used as a mock-up to take a photograph of it, but that's the little statue that was on his desk. And this spyglass right there was right there on the desk. Because he had bad eyes and he would always wear glasses, but he wouldn't use it with photographers around, so he'd pick up something like that and look. And he used this during the Cuban Missile Crisis for gun emplacements and stuff. He used it all through the White House years. That's all stuff by Jackie. She picked this up in England. There's a little thing she carried with the kids' pictures in it in her wallet. Red Book, whenever you made the cover of Red Book, you got one of those. And that's him and her on Red Book. And spoons that the governor of Louisiana gave her, a fan that the president of Mexico gave her. And this is a place setting of the White House, setting up one of the dinners. Christmas '62 gift to a lady, a signed picture of the White House. And then we get into the assassination stuff. Here's his glasses from Dallas, his Ray-Bans that were in the third car. They were so bulgy that it would, stick out of his pocket, and he just wanted to look sharp. So if he needed sunglasses, he would ask somebody for them, and somebody else would carry them. This is the famous Texas Welcome Dinner program that he never made in the ticket. It's the one he would have gone to that night. The dolls that play Happy Days Are Here Again. They were issued.
I've seen those before.
Yeah, they were issued in November of '63, and they were taken off the market, so they're really rare, and they're like $400 or $500.
Who made that?
It's a Japanese outfit. They were setting out on the dock in San
There's
Francisco.
one
never
going up
seen
in that
one.
auction this week.
Yeah.
Where at Hay?
Yeah, Hake has one, the
Yeah,
catalog.
well, there's Kennedy getting that one.
Is his auction this week?
It's tonight we start calling in. We're bidding on
It's
it, Jim
strictly
Morrison.
You know
by
Ted?
phone, though, huh?
Ted Hake, yeah.
Yeah, I know Ted. These are telegrams that he got in Dallas, and they were reading on the plane en route. It says, "Welcome to Texas and our state," and all. This was the Rice Hotel the night before he was giving a speech when he had that tie clip on. And he doodled sailboat. It's probably one of his last ones. And then I have over there the first thing he wrote as president when he sat there, and this is one of the last things he wrote, if not the last thing. It's really hard to read, but he would have included that in his Dallas trademark speech, and that's what it says: equal choice, not any reflection back, government reform, we're going forward. And he wrote that in a very short time in between the trip from Carswell Air Force Base to Love Field when he landed in Dallas. He would invariably do things like this and slip them in his coat, and when he got up on the podium to give a speech, he'd pull notes out. You see him a lot of times, he's reaching in his pocket, he's pulling notes out and putting them on the podium for little things he wants to add or subtract or whatever. Brick from the school book depository when they renovated that place. An envelope from the school book depository signed by Governor Conley and his wife, and Earl Cabell, who's the mayor, who was in the motorcade.
Robert, excuse me. Is there more of that Coke upstairs?
No.
Or just
No.
some juice or water or something?
I don't know. You see my mother's
Ask
up
your
there.
mom.
Yeah.
You want a drink? Do you want a water, Coke, something like that?
I'm alright now.
You?
No, I don't want
Okay.
anything. Conley, the governor that was killed, shot, that's his hospital bill in Parkland Hospital, but he refused to pay. He said he was in the line of duty and he's not going to pay it, so he made the government pay it. And then the signature, if you look there, the first signature is real pretty. He's got real feminine handwriting, and right here it's all screwed up because he still had the cast on. This was signed in February of '64. And some of the other odd things I have on assassination, this is the shell that was in the gun that Ruby killed Oswald with. The actual shot, when they shot him. That's from Dallas District Attorney Henry Wade. He gave it to his nephew. And these are abstract drawings that Jack Ruby did while he was in jail. There's another one here. And there's a Ruby letter from jail to his sister, and this is a Conley letter talking about the trial of Jack Ruby. It's kind of interesting, wasn't it?
I was at a show in Allentown. They had a check signed by Jack Ruby from his club.
Yeah,
there's a picture.
There were a lot of those hit the market.
Yeah.
He used to pay pizza companies for deliveries and liquor companies and stuff like that.
This was a pretty high amount. I forget. It was a few $100s.
Yeah, that's not really high. I mean, they're going for that.
Yeah.
There's Lee Harvey Oswald's card that he carried. Fair play for Cuba in his wallet. Jack Ruby's card from his Carousel nightclub. The original plans for his funeral. Everybody thought everybody just did everything that day, but it was all planned out. Where everybody was supposed to stand and everything. Number of vehicles and cars and just everything. Where everybody went and all. Guys worked all night long getting those things prepared. Pictures. It's an original letter from Lee Rankin, the counsel for the Warren Commission, telling the lady how to report to the Warren Commission for testimony. The Jack out of the limousine that he was killed in. Original autopsy photos of Lee Harvey Oswald. Maybe he was with a toe tag on. And then the pictures in the funeral home of him laid out. These were taken by the FBI. And just, again, we highlighted them, but, you know, there's a note that Jackie Kennedy gave to the White House staff. These are the maids. That's the last time she was in the White House. She was getting ready to leave, and it's the upstairs maids, and she's got the note in her hand. She gave that note, which is this note, to her, Viola Wise. It says, "Well, sorry, we'll miss you so much, Jackie Kennedy." It's a Christmas card that doesn't really exist because it was signed the week he died, and then she signed it November 2nd, and they never sent them out for Christmas because there was no Christmas that year for them. And then these were going to be given to White House staff, and Jackie had signed them again around November 2nd, and he never did sign it. And this is an interesting piece. This goes up here and tells the president what he's supposed to sign it to, who he's supposed to sign it to. So this is going to Governor Matthew Welsh of Indiana, and Kennedy starts to sign it and just doesn't finish it for whatever reason. And, you know, the date's November 21st, so he was probably doing it that morning and said, "I'll just do it when I come back." And he never went back, so it's an unfinished last photo that he did, which is kind of neat. Caroline wrote that at her father's desk. She wrote Caroline and John. This is a common photograph that everybody sees, but this was Kennedy's photograph. This was the one that was in the White House. It hung in a little hallway next to the Oval Office. So it makes it that much. I mean, it's been put out in the millions, but it's a famous photograph of him playing under his father's desk. The wedding invitation, their wedding invitation.
Stays.
And there's Jackie and John Kennedy signed photos to Birch Bayh, who was a senator. He had horrible handwriting. It says, you can read it along with it, says, "For Senator Birch Bayh, with highest esteem and very best wishes to an outstanding public servant, John F. Kennedy." If you look at his handwriting long enough, it becomes normal, but he's got horrible handwriting. Bobby Kennedy's autograph, and then this is a note that John wrote about speaking to Bobby. He was 17 years old, Bobby Kennedy, and when this picture was taken, this document was signed probably within minutes or seconds of that picture because it's signed by his father, attesting that he is his legal father when he was joining the Naval Reserve when he was 17 years old. This is the honor guard that carried his body to Arlington and signatures of all the honor guard. And this is kind of a compendium of notes and doodles, the way Kennedy used to do it. You'd see different things. This was a common one that he'd do the arrows, where he would be on the phone like this talking, and he would make different things. And this one is what I told you about the example of pulling off a piece of paper and having it on the podium. He had this on the podium, and it says "Mountaineers are always free," and he wanted to say it in Latin, like any of those, hillbillies, in West Virginia would understand what he's saying. But he's saying "Monte Septer Libre," and it's "Mountaineers are always free," and that's a typical corrected type letter. And this is a wild item. This is from back seat of the car with his blood on it. And you can see that's an original photograph that night when I came back from Dallas. And the big hunks of red are rose petals, because she had been given a dozen roses that stayed in the car after the assassination, and the rose petals went everywhere. And again, they're the type of letters that I have, and you can see right here it says, about the dried blood on there being the president's. And this is the guy that handled the car for President Johnson and Kennedy.
So what they had the thing reupholstered, right?
Right after it, when the FBI was finished with it, because Johnson wanted a car.
Did you say yesterday that that's in Dearborn?
Yeah, it's in Dearborn. Right. This table was in the Oval Office.
That's where the Lincoln chair is, isn't it?
Yeah,
In
in the
Dearborn.
Dearborn Museum, right. This table was in the Oval Office for about 2 months when he first went in. It became too cumbersome and big. They wanted a round, smaller one. They ended up with the same type, but it was round. So this went into a relaxation room and stayed there the rest of his term. Off of the Oval Office, they had a little room where he could go and lay down. He didn't have to walk all the way over to the family quarters. It had a bed in there. It had a refrigerator and stuff like that, and he could go right off. It's actually when you see he's working late at night. This was from outside the Oval Office, and he's working. This was a photograph that was never published. That's a globe in the corner that lights up, but that's the bathroom right there. I mean, you never think of the president going to the bathroom, but I mean, when you see the Oval Office, it looks like one big room with nothing in it except all this stuff. But that door opens. There's a lot of doors in the Oval Office. That door opens, and there's a bathroom there, and next to that office is this relaxation room where that was. And then, let me get those flags.
Where do you see that? Isn't this a great collection?
Yeah, I can't believe this stuff's in private hands.
These are, that's the photo of the car in Dallas. And these are the flags from the car the day he was killed. This is the one right there. You can see it's even got the wax from the car on it, the dirt. These were put away in '63 and just came to, one of my people had them in their safety deposit box, and nobody even knew they existed. They were given by this guy right here, Bill Gear. He's the driver for Kennedy Alderman's administration. These were on the car in Italy and Germany, and when he made his Brunner speech, and whenever he traveled in Ireland in '63, these were on the